We're going to talk about cold air. We'll talk about additional chances for a little bit of light snow. But mostly we're just going to focus in on this latest Arctic blast in the area. And while we have a few folks continuing to join us on this Facebook Live, I'll go ahead and update you on the situation outside right now. A couple of things that I really want to touch on. That's the cold air that's moving in tonight. Keep in mind that there were a few rolling blackouts. Now, they were blackouts that had to be performed by area power companies, mainly because of the problems generating power across parts of the Midwest. So those same areas are asking you to conserve on electricity as much as you possibly can, certainly over the next 48 hours, so we don't have to go through another rolling blackout, especially in this time of need. And there are people who are in need of electricity and power all the way from Canada south to the southern tip of Texas. And again, I'm going to go ahead and find this on my own Facebook Live here. Looks like we have one going on right now. So you can also formulate a few questions for me, and I'll answer those to the best of my ability. I can tell you, though, that tomorrow will be the first time in a long time that we'll actually work above zero, and this weekend will be the first time we see temperatures in about 2 weeks go above freezing. Look outside right now. Ice flows on the Missouri River. But one thing of note, you see where the ice forms right here on the edge. There's quite a bit of iced over Missouri River right now. Most of that was open just a week ago, but now that ice has pushed all the way out to where the heaviest current is in the channel. That likely will never freeze over because of the strong current there on the Missouri River. Checking on this city cam, this Bordner Home Improvement city cam, the snow flurries have for the most part ended in Kansas City, which is great news. But there is about an inch of fresh snow on the ground at this hour. That's not going to melt, and you can see on the roadways here in the Country Club Plaza that it is mostly a snowpack out there. And also we have some really slippery conditions, and it's not going to improve because the temperature is so cold that the treatment on the roadways is not allowed to work. Looking at the parking lot over here at Arrowhead Stadium, you can see that's completely snow covered as well. I like to show you this picture just to show you that blanket of white. And again, it all added up to about an inch on the ground. Keep in mind that there were some rolling blackouts earlier today. Cold weather safety is also something that you should also pay close attention to in your home. So cold weather dangers. Number one, because this time of the year we pick up house fires quite frequently, and it's usually due to an unattended space heater. You may have a frozen pipe somewhere in your house. You put a space heater at least close to the pipe to thaw it out. Then you might leave. You might even think about going to bed while that continues to blow hot air into areas. Well, if that ignites, houses will go up at this time of the year just like that. So again, every space heater that's used should be attended. If you have to leave that space heater, even for a short amount of time, either turn it off or completely unplug that. And again, don't plug it back in until you can be around to keep an eye on it. Never run a generator indoors. This is pretty obvious. Again, the exhaust that's put out is carbon monoxide, and that's a deadly gas. I could go into why that is a deadly gas, but suffice it to say that every one of those molecules of carbon monoxide, when it attaches to a red blood cell, that red blood cell is no longer usable. It has to do with a triple bond being formed instead of a double bond with the normal procedures of red blood cells. But anyway, without getting into too much detail about that, don't overfill your fireplace. And a lot of folks may think, well, I'm going to jam as many logs into this thing as I can. Don't get the flame too high if that gets up into the flue and catches the flue on fire. That's also an easy way that you could take down a house in pretty much short order. Looking out at live power Doppler radar, and again, things are looking to be in pretty reasonable shape now that I've seen most of this. There we go. I'm going to start this one. Oh. Okay, let's knock that down. I've got your questions here, by the way. That's why I was doing that. Also wanted to show you that the snow flurry activity is all but gone. There may be a few leftover flurries here, but not many of those. Let's see. We've got Alfredo is watching. So is Stacy. Eric Chapman says, hi, Sandy. Yeah, a lot of folks are on and joining. I'm glad you are, because we're going to tackle a little bit of of stuff here, mostly cold weather, but you can see that most of the snow here is pushed well off to the northeast. There is a developing system in the central Rockies and southern Rockies. I'm keeping an eye on that one. That could give us a little dust over on Wednesday. By far and away, the biggest deal is the temperatures outside. Now, we're still at 1 degree below zero, but the skies are still cloudy. What happens here is you get a blanket of clouds up top, and that kind of acts like a blanket. Now, as much as you don't think there's any heat down here at the surface, there is a little bit. Even at 1 below, there's still technically some heat in the area, but that cloud cover allows that heat to be kind of trapped underneath the clouds. So if it's cloudy, you don't see those temperatures dropping off very fast. Now, when the clouds begin to break up, and that's going to happen after about 9 o'clock tonight, that opens it up. It's almost like kicking the covers off of you in bed at night. It allows that warmer air to escape higher into the atmosphere because the clouds aren't there to block it. And when that happens, that's when temperatures really drop off. So once the skies begin to break up tonight, and by the way, you'll wake up to partly cloudy skies tomorrow, that's when temperatures go from 1 below now down to about 14 below by early tomorrow morning. Now, there is a bit of a wind coming through, but the wind is actually easing up a little bit, so wind chill temperatures may not be quite as brutal tomorrow morning, even with much colder temperatures. We're down to about 14 below tomorrow morning, but the wind blows in at less than 8 miles per hour. You do the mathematics on the wind chill chart, and that ends up being somewhere in the vicinity of about 20 to 25 degrees below zero. We may touch about 28 below for a brief moment tomorrow as well. Well, your wintry weather has produced a wind chill warning. This is not an advisory, it's a warning. It's the highest level of a wind chill warning that you can have issued, and it's for all of the counties in our area. Winter storm warnings for snow well to the south and southeast of Sedalia. Again, I think we've seen the last of the snow here, at least for the remainder of the overnights. Okay, conserve energy, because the last thing we want to do is have another one of those rolling blackouts when temperatures get down as cold as they will be over the next 24 hours. This is really critical that we keep the power supply going. So to avoid them, right now, Governor Kelly is asking that everyone in the state of Kansas, and because Kansas is doing that, I think western Missouri certainly would too, because we're all on the same grid, power grid from western Missouri through all of the state of Kansas. And that's the case basically in a line that runs all the way north up to about the Canadian border. So set your thermostat to 68 degrees. I know that's asking a lot for people who may like it at 71 or 72 to drop it by that 4 degrees, but it means a lot. All you'd really need to do is just, instead of wearing maybe lighter pajamas or something like that, maybe throw on a pair of, you might want to think about a pair of sweatpants, maybe a hooded sweatshirt, something like that. Again, it's only for about 24 to 48 hours that you need to do this, really, to keep the rolling blackouts from happening. And then turn off the unused lights. You leave a room. I know you tell your kids to do this all the time, but again, turn off the lights in rooms that aren't being used. If normally you're using 2 or 3 lights in a room, maybe you can get away with 1 or 2. I mean, every little bit is going to help out with this, so just keep that going. Let's see. This is Kurt Leftridge, says, I know you worked with Walt Howard in Amarillo, Texas. Yeah, that was in the late 80s. He's my cousin, told me you worked at Channel 10. Yes, I did. I definitely worked at Channel 10 in Amarillo, Texas. In fact, the one winter I was there, it was the 2 worst blizzards I've seen in my life. And I spent most of my childhood growing up in either Minnesota or southeast Kansas. Okay, now here's another one. Shut down the heat to unused rooms. This one's an easy one. In fact, you should probably do this every day in the wintertime anyway. If you have that unused guest room that's just kind of sitting idle, go ahead and shut the vents off to that room, close the door. It helps out a ton. I know the room will get cold, and it should, but again, that keeps the heat where it's needed in the central portion of your house. If you can get away with maybe another room or 2 to close them off, so you don't have to heat those rooms, it certainly would help. And this would be a great time to become a family again. Have everybody kind of hang out in the same room instead of everybody with their cell phone going to their own separate place in the house. Maybe kind of everyone congregate in the living room or the sitting room or something like that. Maybe the kitchen or the dining room. Just keep those rooms heated, and then those periphery rooms, you can allow them to cool off considerably. Maybe just opening up the door to some of those bedrooms just before you go in for the night. Anyway, those are a couple of tips that you can do. Not only that, but you're going to save on your heating bill as well. And I'm really not looking forward to my February heating bill when it finally comes out. It is going to be absolutely nasty with this 2-week stretch of weather. How are the roads in Lee Summit? Asked Casey. From what I understand, it has been pretty much an even blanket of 1 inch of snow on the ground. From what I understand, the roads became very, very slippery during the mid to late afternoon hours, and I don't anticipate a lot of improvement. I did see a lot of snow plows out. I left the building just for a short while here in Merriam, and again, I saw the plows out, and they were doing a great job. Keep in mind, they only have to remove an inch off the surface, but they have so many roads that they've got to tackle, so it may take a while to do that. How cold for Ottawa, and is there more snow? Wants to know Eric Chapman. Okay, Eric, we're looking at a low temperature tomorrow in Ottawa that should get down in the neighborhood of about 12 to 13 below zero, maybe as cold as 14 below. 14 below is what I have forecast for the Kansas City area. Wind chill temperatures again, 20 to 25 below. It will be freezing cold. As far as snow is concerned, about everybody picked up nearly an inch. Look for the next snow event to arrive on Wednesday. It looks like areas south of I-70 will see the more measurable snows. In the Northland on Wednesday, by the way, that'd be Gladstone, Liberty, Kearney, up around Platte City. Probably a half inch or less in areas to the north. Yep, roads are okay as long as you take it slow. That's what Denise says. Okay. Any more questions here? Yeah, a lot of people saying this cold is not fun at all. I agree with that. 72 LOL. I keep my heat on 77. Well, Danielle, it would be better if you didn't do that, honestly. And again, I'm not telling you all what you need to do. What I'm telling you is I'm just passing on what the governor said, that to avoid rolling blackouts, we really need to pay attention to this and don't go crazy with the heat in your home. It's much, much easier just to put on an extra layer of clothing and sit around the house, or maybe just wear what you normally would and then just put a blanket over the top of you while you're kind of relaxing around the house. And of course, if you're up and you're active, it's another great way also to stay as warm as you possibly can. We'll back this up and have a look at some of the temperatures here. Again, 19 below is the latest wind chill reading at KCI. 1 degree below zero is the latest temperature. But as I said before, it's because of that blanket of cloud cover right now that's keeping temperatures where they are. Coming up on KCTV5 at about 7 minutes past the top of the hour, I'll be doing a live cut-in. It'll only last a minute or so, but I'll update you on some of these weather situations as well. Just wanted to bring you up to speed, answer a couple of questions on this latest cold Arctic blast update. So hopefully I've updated you on that. Keep in mind, the low temperature tonight gets down to about 14 below. The record low, it's 8 below zero is the record. That was set back in 1979. That was a very cold year, by the way, 79. It came after a big snowstorm, and then it was cold for what seemed like forever after that, and that record was part of it. But as cold as it was that day in 79, we will beat that tomorrow, and we're going to beat it by a bunch, by some 6 degrees or so. So an updated look coming up shortly after 8 o'clock on KCTV5. And, of course, tune in tonight at 10 o'clock for a complete wrap-up on this bitter cold air. And we'll also have a look ahead to what's going to be a much more warmer weekend as well. Thanks for watching this Facebook Live. Have a great evening. Stay safe.